Hello, I am Bruce Arcurio, and this presentation has been created for Module 4 of the Aspen University course, Creating Strategic Change That Lasts with Professor Dr. Carlos Cortez. The goals of this presentation include a discussion of the 5 types of social power, an analysis of the dominant social power in my own workplace, and an explanation of the alpha dog concept. First, we will begin with the 5 types of social power. These include legitimate power, coercive power, reward power, expert power, and referent power. The first 3 power types, legitimate, coercive, and reward, are more associated with organizational structure and tend to result in more compliance-based responses from subordinates. The last 2 power types, expert and referent, tend to result in more commitment-based responses from subordinates. Legitimate power is generally based on the title or position of the leader. Employees in an organization recognize that those who have achieved a higher level on the organizational chart have the authority to make demands on those who are lower on the chart. This type of power comes from the traditions of the workplace and the emphasis on the norms that have been established in that workplace. This type of social power is associated with compliance. Employees do not necessarily agree to the demands of the leader because they have a belief in the value of the requests or the effectiveness of the leader, but because they have a respect for the title or position. The leader believes he or she has the right to make requests of the employees, and the employees believe that the leader has the right to request such actions of them. This view of legitimate power is position power. Other forms of legitimate power include legitimate reciprocity power, where the power holder calls in a favor from the subordinate for some previous positive action. Legitimate equity power is also a form of quid pro quo. However, it is not based on an equivalent exchange of favors. It may be presented by the power holder as asking for a favor based upon years of previous support that has been given to the subordinate. Finally, legitimate dependence power is based upon the power holder making it known to the subordinate that their assistance is critical if a particular target or goal is to be met. The leader might say, "I can't do this without you." The next form of social power is coercive power. Simply put, this power stems from the leader's ability to punish the employee in some meaningful way. This could be the threat of termination, a pay freeze, a demotion, or some loss of work-related privilege. It can also stem from the employee's fear of losing favor with the leader or power holder. This form of compliance-driven power is associated with reactance. The employee's behavior is a function of their reaction to the perception of the leader's use of coercion. This perception can be real or imagined. Some leaders may wield coercion openly, while others imply the threat of its use. Coercive power is associated with lower supervisor effectiveness. Employees who feel that their leader uses this form of social power to get things done generally feel that they lack other more effective means of leading. Additionally, coercive power is associated with lower employee satisfaction. Because of these negative associations, this form of power does not create allies for the leader and often leads to employees who may undermine the leader eventually. Reward power is employed when a leader or power holder promises to give some form of compensation that is desired by the employee in exchange for compliance. The reward can be monetary, time-related, or some other perk that the employee wants. Reward power is seemingly a positive way to do business, and in some cases it is very effective. However, as stated, it is associated with compliance and is more apt to win actions than to win hearts and minds. It does attract allies mainly because they wish to receive the rewards from the leader. It is positively related to performance. This is contingent upon the rewards remaining relevant and consistent for the employee. A decline in rewards leads to a decline in performance. This type of power works on an extrinsic motivation system rather than an intrinsic one. It is important to build on other forms of incentive in order to avoid the loss of intrinsic motivation in the workplace. One of the downfalls to reward power is the ethical dilemmas that can be caused. Sometimes, when rewards are contingent upon meeting certain goals or quotas, the employees may be tempted to focus more on the reward and less on the process of getting the reward. Put another way, it may lead to ends justify the means type thinking. This is also true of the leader, who may use rewards to entice employees to do whatever it takes to meet the goal without regard for the ethics. Expert power is a more personal form of power and is more dependent upon who the leader is and what they know, rather than their title and what they can make happen to the employee. This type of power relies on a power holder's ability to share information and expertise with subordinates. This type of power is often associated with commitment because those who are considered experts garner a level of true respect from employees. Expert power is generally correlated with improving attitudes and performance because the employees believe in the things being asked of them by the leader on the basis of their trust in the leader's skill, knowledge, and expertise to do their job. Expert power is dependent on the employee's belief and perception of the leader's expertise and their trust that the leader is conveying the information that they have openly, honestly, and in a technically correct fashion. Expert power is effective, however, it is susceptible to erosion if the opinions of the employees shift regarding the expertise of the leader. Additionally, if expert power is used in a negative fashion to only benefit the leader, this has an adverse effect on the employee's feelings toward that leader. Referent power is another form of personal power that stems from the leader's charisma and interpersonal connection with the employees. Power holders who have referent power build trust among their subordinates and the employees identify with the leader. This may be because of some personal characteristic that the leader possesses that resonates with the employees. Referent power is associated with commitment rather than compliance because the employees are more likely to agree with the things that are asked of them by a referent power holder. This type of power has more to do with the personal influence of the leader than the title or position that they hold. Finally, a leader with referent power demonstrates a strong connection to the organizational values, and in many cases, the personal values of those within the organization. This is a powerful form of leadership. The next section of the presentation is a more personal look at types of social power. Using the information provided on the previous slides, I've reflected upon my current workplace to determine the dominant types of social power at play. This was an interesting task in my current workplace because it is a unique setting in terms of leadership. We are a very small school district consisting of only 29 total staff members with one school leader. I am that leader. This is my second year as the chief school administrator, and this task requires me to look at the leadership of the past and my current leadership of this school district in order to make a determination. Looking at it objectively, I have inherited a school that is based in legitimate and coercive powers. A phrase that I have heard from multiple employees over the last year is that we have PTSD from previous leaders. This statement says a great deal about the way that subordinates felt treated in the past. What they described to me is a mixture of compliance based upon the fact that the leader was the boss and a fear of negative consequences for noncompliance. This fear was not a perception, but a reality based upon reprisals and consequences that were given by the former leaders regularly. Currently, I am working to develop a culture of collaboration where all voices in the organization are valued. I've developed and continue to develop relationships with the entire staff in an effort to make connections on a professional and personal level. During formal and informal interactions, I work to discuss the school's mission and vision and connect our work and actions to those goals. I'm always willing to discuss reasons for decisions and for changes with any stakeholders. Essentially, I am working to change attitudes, actions, reactions, and culture that have been ingrained for years. It is a slow process, but will happen over time. So the bottom line is that we are getting to referent power as a form of leadership, but it's a work in progress. The final portion of this presentation is an explanation of the alpha dog concept of leadership as described in the Casulo text. This will be achieved through a discussion of several key quotes from the author. An alpha dog is a leader with position power whose behaviors create energy and drive real economic results. This basic statement is important because an alpha dog in any organization must have some form of legitimate or position power in order to effect change and drive real results. Some businesses are not economically driven, like education, so the key term here is results. Expertise, credibility with peers, and consistent high-level results are the primary indicators of an alpha dog. Two personal social powers are at play here. Expertise or expert power provides the alpha dog with a knowledge and skill level to speak with authority to those in the organization. This leads to credibility with peers, which may stem from the expert power, but connects to referent power because this level of credibility, based upon consistent results, allows stakeholders to form a connection and identify with the leader. Alpha dogs are on the same frequency as their organization, knowingly or not. Having a connection to organizational values is a hallmark of strong leadership. It is important for an alpha dog leader to embody the organization's beliefs and resonate with the members. An important distinction of an alpha dog is that she is likely to be a leader who has extraordinary communication skills. It is common for strong leaders to have good communication skills. Alpha dog leaders often have extraordinary skill in this area. They may be the people in the organization that others listen to and get swept up in the enthusiasm of working for them. They inspire with their communication and back this up with their actions. Finally, we look at three things that alpha dogs do not do. It is easy to look at leaders and think that they are alpha dog leaders until their actions are put to greater scrutiny. It is important to be self-reflect outward to place blame. The best leaders are always looking for what they could have done to be better. This is also true of the best teachers. They do not blame students for failures, they look to themselves for how they could have acted differently to change that outcome. It is also important to put the organization first above self. Alpha dog leaders are not looking for individual glory. They gain their own success through the success of the organization. Over time, it becomes easy to spot a leader who is politically motivated or simply out for him or herself. Another thing that alpha dogs do well is admit mistakes. They are keenly aware that perfection is a myth and that excellence and progress are goals worth striving for. There is no shame in admitting mistakes, only in not working to correct them. Thank you for your attention to this overview of social power and the alpha dog concept. I hope that you have found it informative. The last three slides contain references for both the content in the presentation and those images that were not Creative Commons.